Y'all, Wizard101 just dropped the biggest Darkmoor teaser yet. Depending on how you interpret this could be a big game changer. So we need to talk about it. This is what they posted on social media today. And for once, we don't just have an image, we also have a full-blown explanation that they attached. But starting with the image, already massive. I think there's no other word to describe my reaction to this other than thrilled. If y'all have been living under a rock, Darkmoor, though it exists in the form of a dungeon already, like Castle Darkmoor, the Halls of Darkmoor. For the level 180 update, the big fall update that they're doing, they're releasing Darkmoor as a whole world. I was very worried that they would just take the assets that they already have from the current version of Darkmoor and just kind of copy and paste a lot of stuff. But what's depicted here is a vampire, and he also comes with his own house banner. All of this stuff is stuff that we've never seen. It's not a Shane Von Shane reskin. It's not a family banner for the Von Shanes or whatever. I'm very happy to see this because one of the most unpopular things about a big world coming out is reused assets. I think that's the big issue that a lot of people had with the Lemuria update. It really looks like they're making a meaningful attempt, based off of this teaser anyways, of not doing that. But the explanation, they also posted this, and this is what I think could be really cool. But basically what they're saying is this isn't just a teaser for a random NPC or just what a vampire from Darkmoor could look like. This is a teaser for one of many houses, vampiric houses in Darkmoor, the House of Cups. Now they're talking about somehow this is like the smallest house, and like, you know, how it's based on like ingenuity and politics and schemery. Now to me, the fact that they're introducing houses for Darkmoor, it can only really mean one of two things. The first conclusion that could be drawn from it, the one that I find most exciting, is maybe we have an option when we enter Darkmoor to choose one of several houses to be a part of. Now that kind of reminds me of kind of an experiment that they did a long time ago with Mirage, with factions. I don't know if y'all remember the term faction, but a long time ago, right? They basically, when they put out Mirage, they said you could be part of many factions, and depending on which faction you're a part of, it unlocks various things, especially items that you could buy from various vendors. They tied factions to badges, and basically these badges you can get for doing various things like fighting enemies across Mirage, but it unlocks all kinds of things like castles and, like, you know, tapestries and decorations that you otherwise cannot get. And notably, these factions in Mirage, they come with banners that actually show that you basically did what you needed to do in order to have this identity. Now, while they tied it to badges that basically normally just involve fighting a bunch of mobs, and there's not much beyond that, to me it would be really cool if when we enter Darkmoor, we have the choice of actually finding a way to gain everybody's trust by joining one of many factions. And maybe for once, the factions could be tied to something where your choice matters a little bit more. Maybe learning a new spell, maybe accessing really cool cosmetics in a bunch of different directions. Maybe things like mounts. I like the idea that they did with castles and tapestries. Maybe they can add that as well. I dream of a world where this teaser is not just the only option for you when you enter Darkmoor. I'm gonna assume if they went through the trouble of making a whole explanation for one house, there's probably an explanation for many. I think they have a real great opportunity to do what they've kind of done with weaving a little bit, where your choice does matter, but not that much. And what I mean by that, right? Like right now, I'm weaving into depth on my storm. All I really have to do is go to Selenopolis and change my weaving, but the cost of that is that I don't keep the spells that I normally can have for weaving in a depth, like auras and the fusion Grimzilla. It'd be cool if you could only join one faction at a time, and being a part of that faction came with some extra things. I think that would be really cool. The other thing that I would personally love to see is a variation on the way they do gear through whatever this house system in Darkmoor is. I'm sure people know this if they've been playing the game for a while now. Wiz has really standardized the main storyline gear in a way where I almost feel like it's hard to get excited about it. This kind of started around Novus with 160 Aeon gear, but you could obviously also see it with, you know, the way Reaver and Stalker gear work. Right now, it seems like there's a high damage, no shad setup that you can get at the end of a world, and then there's a small variation on it. It looks the exact same, but it's a slightly more defensive, slightly more high health version but you do get shads. You tend to not get crit. Right, they did that with the Reaver and Stalker. They did that with the main Aeon gear and then the Eternal gear. Right, they basically done that in both Novus and they've done that in Wallaroo. They kind of also did a variation of the exact same template in Wallaroo for the Selenopolis update. So basically, we've been now for the past 3 years been pretty much able to expect a very, very minor increase in the main templates, and that's it. That's basically all you expect. This little house teaser, this could be a great way to introduce more templates so more people can get more out of the main storyline. And maybe by doing various quests and various storylines with each house, you can find a way to maybe get each gear template that's tied to that house. I don't know how hard all of this would be, but even things like gear set bonuses attached to the same gear, but it's different based on which faction you choose, maybe different item cards, maybe more than 2 templates. There's a lot of directions they could go with this, so your choices matter a little bit if choosing a house is something they're going with for Darkmoor. Now, you might have noticed that I said there could be 2 conclusions that you could draw from this teaser. The other thing could just be that I would hate if this is the case, but obviously the other conclusion could be that they're not just doing what the faction system that they tried in Mirage, but at a larger level, they're not doing that, but that everybody has to choose whatever this House of Cups is. This could just be the NPC that everybody interacts with, and honestly, all that would really reveal is that the plot of Darkmoor is about gaining some sort of credibility within the world to advance in it as we investigate whatever this Earthborn, the person that came to the spiral from Earth just like us, to investigate what they've been up to. The only reason why I'm less likely to believe that is simply because the house banner. It feels like a random thing to go through all the effort of making a banner for, unless there were multiple ones of these that you actually have some sort of choice in. Now, the big thing that they've really tied Darkmoor with so far is shadow enhanced spells. That's like basically what you get at level 100 for doing the dungeon. The real question is, beyond all of the teasers that we've gotten, is there going to be more that we can learn in terms of shadow magic compared to what we know right now? If y'all don't know, they're redoing all of the shad spells. Almost all of them are going to make you take some sort of backlash. They've already started listening to feedback, so certain aspects of this backlash might change. They're clearly already subject to change, but right, we've seen already that you're supposed to combine Glowbug with Dark Nova to make an even better version of Glowbug that we have right now. But that teaser involved essentially fusing 2 cards that we already have, and based on the teaser last week, we already know that there's going to be new animations, meaning there's new spells that we haven't seen yet. The real question is, are those also going to be fusible? Are those going to be different, and how are you going to be able to fuse those? Where are you going to learn the shadow fusions? What spells are you going to fuse those with? Because there's so much room there, this might be their way of teasing the new basically choice that you make in order to fuse the new spells, the ones that you're actually going to learn for the first time with this update. What I would love to see is if every single school gets a new spell from this new Darkmoor world, right? And then depending on what choice they make, they can basically learn a new shadow spell to fuse their new spell with in order to make a bunch of combinations of stuff. I don't know if that made sense, but like, for example, right, in the Selenopolis update, everyone got a Selenopolis spell. Now imagine if there were not just 1 or 2 versions of things that you could make out of your Selenopolis spell, right? They kind of did that with fusion. You could fuse the new spells with either weakness aura or blade in the case of Storm. Now imagine instead of weakness aura or blade, you have a bunch of shads that you could fuse this with and make a whole lot of combos that are just not possible right now. I think that would be ridiculously cool. I really hope that that is what ends up happening, if they're not going to tie whatever this house system is with like gear, with, you know, cosmetics, with things like houses and tapestries and banners like they did before. That could be the other option that they could go with. That could also be really cool, and it would be a much different thing than weaving, mainly because it's such a late game thing, right? I feel like weaving, they kind of went back, added it for level 50. This could be like a 180 thing that you get for starting the new arc, a power increase, like really dabbling into shadow magic with choices that matter. That's what I really hope this is, but obviously this is all speculation because it is a teaser. I do want to know, what do you guys think of this teaser? What do you guys think of the NPC? Are you guys happy to see that they're not reusing assets, or do y'all want them to build a little bit more on the lore that we already have? And do y'all think that I'm on the money with this House of Cups that they teased being one of many houses that you could choose? And what implications do y'all think that choice should have on the wizard in Darkmoor? There's a lot of ways this could go. I'm very excited to see where they go with this in general. There's so many teasers incoming, so make sure you turn on noties so you don't miss any of them. Drop a like if you enjoyed, y'all. Leave us up if you're new. And as always, if somebody hasn't told you you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. Stay awesome. See y'all soon. And yeah.